So thank you very much for joining us. I am super excited about this webinar. So for those that don't know much about me, I'm a real estate agent with RE/MAX Jazz, and I absolutely love my job. I love my work. The reason why is that I get to help people. I get to help them in their transition in life, whether it's looking for a new home, whether it's making sure that they can retire properly and selling their home and going to another option, or just a life transition. Someone had a baby and they need a bigger home. So helping people with all these different life transitions, and remembering that real estate is definitely one of the biggest assets for us Canadians. So making sure that you know your options, making sure that I walk you through the process and support you through the process, and equally important, bring the right people to the process is very important to me. So the reason why I wanted to do this seminar is because we are in spring. And this is when everyone is thinking, all right, so should we do this bathroom? Should we do the kitchen? What should we do, whether they decide to move or not? So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have Jade here and get her professional input on this. It's really exciting too, because she is adding to our already very thorough in-house support team. She's really completing it. We already have a great team of 11 full-time support people, and now there's no stopping us with her as well. So this is pretty awesome. And it's also an opportunity for a more encompassing service with less limitations when we have an in-house stager like Jade. So just so you know, I want to make sure that we get the rules right. As I already mentioned, this meeting is recorded, and I will be taking up questions as we go along. So if you could type them, any comments and your questions into the comment bar, that would be great, so we can take them up as we go. So Jade, I would love to hear your introduction to the amazing you. Tell us about yourself, about your practice, please.
No, for sure, definitely. So my name is Jade McLeod, and I am a certified professional stager, working exclusively for RE/MAX Jazz. Jade Interiors is also partnered up with our wonderful Furniture Galleries of Oshawa, and we provide any sort of rental furnitures that any of the RE/MAX Jazz agents may need. And that is also an exclusive service for our Jazz agents, which is really great. Everything is locally sourced and Canadian made, which is awesome. And then, working with RE/MAX Jazz, I started January 1st, and it has been such a wonderful experience working with such an amazing staff and agents and company as well. So I just can't wait to continue working with these awesome agents and continue providing staging services for all of them.
Thank you. I've seen already your work, and you're doing amazing. So I can't wait to partner up on my next listing with you. So it's going to be really awesome. I think we'll work great together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like I've mentioned, one of the most asked questions right now is, should I renovate my bathroom before the sale? Am I finishing our basement now or not? I'm not sure. Maybe I should add a bathroom in there. It could be a forever home, but it might not. So, all these are very important questions. And often I would say the earlier you have the right expert weighed in on that, the better, because you do want to make sure that you're spending the time and energy and money in the right place where you get the most reward. Obviously, it does depend on person to person. For some people, it's not something that they might even care about. For them, it's really about their personal lifestyle, and that's perfectly fine. At the end of the day, it's your home. I always say it's not a house, it's a home, right? So it has to work for you, obviously. But I think it's also important to keep that in mind, and what would be the payout down the road for you. So we're going to be talking about the trends and the ROR, or the rate of return on different upgrades in your home. So there was actually a ledger survey conducted on behalf of RE/MAX Canada. It was called 2021 RE/MAX Renovation Investment Report. And it basically tells us what are the most desired features by Canadians in a home. And I think it's really telling on the changing times that we have, but also it's a great idea on, and you'll be surprised, there are certain things that are very important for people, but they're really low cost, and it's interesting to discuss that as well. So I'm going to share this report with you, and we'll go through it together so that you can see. All right. So the first thing first is 70% of Canadians would like to see a redesigning larger spaces such as kitchen or washroom. So this has been around for a long time. Everyone would love to have a nice big kitchen, a nice big washroom, well upgraded. So I will turn this to you. What are some of the trends that we have in those two spaces? Actually, if you can start talking on that, and then I'll show the summary of it in the picture.
Yeah, definitely. So we're seeing a lot of fun trends in 2021, a lot of color, a lot of texture, definitely. So as for the kitchen and bathrooms, we're seeing, colored cabinets. So they may be, that kind of moss color. We're seeing a lot of earthy tones. We're also seeing a lot of brass this year, which is awesome. Definitely some clean line cabinets for the kitchen. We're seeing kind of those multi-level islands as well. So there is definitely a lot of fun trends this year that we're seeing between the kitchens and the bathrooms, which is great.
Nice. Actually, I have a question. So I see some islands, they do have the sink, some don't. What's the trend? Yes or no?
I mean, I guess it's just preference, like personal preference. I don't think that there's a major trend between the sinks. So I mean, if someone just wants a large island for entertaining with no sink in there, I think that's always a great go-to. But I mean, I guess it's just maybe personal preference for whatever you kind of prefer.
Nice. And I think it's great too with the islands. I mean, I always loved the idea of having an island.
Yeah.
Is that we live in such a busy world that often we don't get to utilize the dining room.
Yeah.
Exactly. And especially now, I mean, the reality is we haven't utilized it in like 2 years now.
Yeah.
So, it's a great option for you to go get your breakfast. Everything is right there, and you have that extra storage as a plus as well. So I love the island. It's definitely adding that multifunctional touch that everyone is looking for nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely great for entertaining. And like you said, for any sort of, family as well, it's definitely multifunctional for sure.
So I'm going to share the trends that you're talking about that you wanted to share with our listeners. So this is basically what you were talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you can see that we're, that moss green color, that brass. We're also seeing a lot of like geometric shapes for the backsplash rather than your
Mm,
classic herringbone, which is a lot of fun. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can kind of see a more traditional kitchen. Trends are great, but we never know how long they're kind of going to last for.
mhm.
So for people who maybe aren't looking to stay in their house as long, that classic white kitchen is definitely timeless and will kind of stay around for as long as,
Yeah, and it's interesting. The average for Canadians time that they spend in a house before moving is 5 to 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a quite short time, come to think of it. So you do want to make sure that it's something that makes sense and will not go out of style when you do
Exactly.
make a move. So it's easier to update, right?
Exactly.
I think if I have to choose between painting a cabinet to update and changing a countertop, I change, the paint of my cabinets. That's easier to do. So I think
Exactly.
making sure the base is there
Mhm.
is so important. What about the black and white trend? I have seen that in quite a few lifestyle magazines as well.
Yeah, so the black and white trend is definitely timeless as well. So we're seeing like, the white cabinetry with maybe a black island. And that again, as for like an all white kind of kitchen, that is a very timeless look that I think is going to stay around for a while for sure.
Nice, nice. Yeah, lots of beautiful gold
Yeah.
features. Yeah, I can see as well. That's very nice.
Hmm.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for letting us know on that.
Yeah.
Another thing also, oh yes, and what about flooring? What
Yeah.
are the trends on flooring?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of cooler tones with our flooring. So grays, light grays, are definitely in lighter flooring. We're also kind of seeing those geometric patterns as well to kind of add that texture into your home. So whether it's a herringbone, that chevron look, wider length planks, that's
Yes,
definitely what's in style right now for flooring.
very nice. Yeah, that's definitely something that I'm seeing very often in homes that have recently been renovated.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's so easy to put yourself into a home like that because I mean, whatever you bring in terms of furniture, majority of it will go great.
Will go great. Yeah, it's definitely easy to pair with for sure.
Absolutely. Which actually brings us to the next point. So 56% of Canadians would like to see a minor updates, such as refreshing paint, which is what I was mentioning earlier, is one of those really surprising ideas. It's the least expensive option. If I have to change completely the kitchen or the bathroom versus have a nice fresh paint,
Mhm.
I definitely choose that, right?
Yeah, so paint is definitely one of the more budget-friendly options that you have. I think paint can really transform your home. So by painting it that lighter color, not so much a distracting color, can really open up the space and make it look larger. But I also think it's really great because it's a clean, fresh look for when people come in and look at your home for sure.
Absolutely. And I think even if it's just for yourself too, I find having lighter colors will make the space feel bigger, lighter, and brighter. So
Exactly.
it's one of those things. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the US and Florida, and I remember, being in homes there. Besides, obviously, that they are in the sun pretty much all the time, but even the feel of the house, a
Mhm.
lot of those homes have that light color combination that makes them feel so much lighter.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely helpful. Actually, these are the different color palettes that I know you love. So why don't you just go over them?
For sure. So on the right, we do have the color trends of 2021. Benjamin Moore came out with those on the first week of January. So as you can see, kind of like I said earlier, we're seeing a lot of those earthy tones this year. So a lot of browns, oranges, yellows, light grays, and like those off-white colors. So I do have some of the codes here just in case you do kind of you love a color that you see and you want to go out and kind of paint your house. But as for the neutrals, these are kind of classic go-to neutrals. We love Revere Pewter. It's great. It definitely has some warm undertones. Beige can definitely come through if you have a darker house with not so many windows and lighting. So it can either kind of show up as a gray color or more of that beigey color. Classic gray, Collingwood, they're definitely those classic gray colors, which is great. Collingwood does show up more on the lighter side. So if you do have a darker home, Collingwood is probably your go-to for that.
Nice. And I see some color too. I can see there's a little, that Potter's clay has that, I don't know, like brown orangey tone to it. But it's not too orange, which is nice. It doesn't make you feel like you're, Halloween time.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely like that nice orangey brown color for sure.
And I love that yellow too. The Beacon Hill, that looks very nice. It looks very light without overpowering too, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, sometimes you will come into a home and you will see very bright color. It could often be just one wall, right? So when we are staging or just decorating the home and making it our home, would you add different accents? So maybe like a vase that would complement it. How would you add that color to integrate it into a house without feeling like it's just too much?
Yeah, so we have been seeing a lot of accent walls lately. We've been seeing that kind of like charcoal black look, which has been a lot of fun. So I think by surrounding kind of your accent wall with like a light neutral color, that will kind of neutralize the space. And by doing an accent wall with kind of decor matching the accent wall, always kind of goes a long way. And we have been seeing it a lot. Another thing that we have been seeing instead of the painted accent wall is actually wallpaper accent walls, which are coming back. And it definitely adds a ton of texture into the room, which is great as well. So it's definitely not overpowering if you kind of neutralize it with the space around you by using kind of lighter furniture, kind of matching your decor with it. So we're definitely seeing a lot of that lately.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a few that do have that wallpaper on just one wall, right? And if it's done right, like you said, if everything around it integrates it in a nice way, it looks great.
Yeah, exactly.
And another thing too, I noticed that the colors make a big difference too. If it's something that's very loud, it could feel too busy and too overpowering. But if it's lighter colors, then it actually can look really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Perfect. So now what we have is, so a few that we have seen are, like we said, kitchen, washroom, flooring was part of it as well, paint. So the next one too is 55% of Canadians like to see landscaping for outdoor space. So that's another one that's surprising. I mean, it's a lot of people that would like to see that. And it's one of, again, the least expensive if I have to choose between the other two. So especially now, we are in a situation where a lot of places are closed, but garden centers are very much busy.
Exactly. I think, with everything that's going on in the world, everyone's kind of looking for that outdoor oasis. So we're seeing like a lot of outdoor cooking stations, a lot of multifunctional patio sets, a lot of decor outside, like kind of bringing in the indoors to your outdoors to make it more of that comfortable feel. Not so much for entertainment right now, but I think more for kind of that family outdoor getaway. So, planting colorful flowers, keeping your lawn kind of maintained, I think is a big aspect that people are looking at doing this year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting too, because not everyone has big outdoor space, right? You will see situations where you have smaller size backyard or smaller size front yard. So I find that even having flowers alone will really dress up the space. Another thing too is I am in love with Japanese trees right now. that's my thing this year.
Yeah.
We have a few that we purchased for our home.
Nice. Yeah, they're beautiful.
And, they're beautiful. My parents have had those, and they don't necessarily have a very big backyard, right? So, and it really makes a difference because it makes it easier to take care of them. That you don't have to hire someone to trim them, or even worse, cut them down eventually because they're too big and they're interfering with either your space or damaging the house or something like that. So I'm in love with them.
No, definitely.
So if you haven't looked at them before, please do. And another thing also too, some people don't realize that sometimes when you go to a garden center, you have something very specific that you're going for. It's always great to ask someone that works there what you already have in your backyard, what your backyard looks like, and they could be great help to let you know not only when to water, when not to water, but also what will work for the space and how different plants will work in different areas of your yard and how they will work with other plants as well. So great resource that is free of charge, and definitely a good idea to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
And so the next one is 50% of Canadians would like to see changes in home layout, including adding rooms or knocking down walls. So this one is interesting because it really depends. I mean, it's definitely a trend in terms of knocking down walls, and it has been around for a long time. But I find that now with a lot of people staying at home, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's nice to have that privacy and that wall in between to have not only the privacy, but functionality of it too.
Yeah, so definitely. I've been seeing a lot of, the big trend for a while was having like that open concept kind of house. But now, like you said, with, people working from home, a lot of kids are actually going to school at home. I think there is more of a demand for kind of that closed off office possibly, or, separate rooms so that, you're not using maybe the kitchen as your school area, as your cooking area. So I think that's definitely a bigger demand now that we've seen for the past year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing too is so adding rooms. So that's another interesting one too. I mean, we have a situation where a lot of people are working from home and probably will be for a while. So adding a room, especially in the basement, is a big plus right now.
Yeah.
So there's two reasons behind it. The first is, yes, working from home, that's definitely helpful. Another reason behind it is we're seeing more and more people that would like to have an in-law suite. So that's a big trend that has started a couple of years ago. Now we're seeing it more and more. Not only is it great if someone has, let's say, parents that want to join them, and it does happen very often right now, especially with elderly parents. I talk to people that might not want to put their parents into a retirement home with everything happening, right?
Mhm.
So they're thinking, well, why don't we have them downstairs? They have their separate space. It's not going to feel like a basement. We're going to make sure that it feels like an apartment, like a home. But also, it's maybe an opportunity down the road to turn it into a legal basement and have that extra income. Especially right now, a lot of people are squeezed. So it's another great reason to make sure that the basement is not just the rec room for yourself and the kids, which is great too. But keeping in mind what are the options down the road for you, your family, as well as possibly the next person that will have the home as well. So, and another thing too, when you do decide to put in that room, please try to consider access to the window.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just about, eventually making it into a legal basement, but for safety, right? If you do decide to have someone there. So these are all very important things to consider as well. And of course, the last thing is 32% of Canadians would like to see updated decor and furniture. So this is where the staging comes in.
Definitely. So I think, like you said, this is where kind of staging is at a popular demand. People want to see that updated furniture. Our big focus on staging is bringing in a lot of light colors to make the space look larger, but we also don't want to overpower the space. So, keeping into consideration like the scale of the furniture, the arrangement of the furniture is also really important to maximize the space of the home and make it look as large and spacious as possible. But definitely having that updated art and decor definitely makes a huge impact on the space for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I find not only is it a first impression, which is really hard to erase afterwards, but it's also helping people imagine themselves in that space. Right?
Exactly.
Because, when you have a home that that has more of individual style to it, unfortunately, not a lot of people are going to be able to do that.
Exactly.
And another thing to consider as well, some people might think it's really about staging and bringing in the furniture, but it's even more important to make sure that the home is prepared for staging by preparing the space through cleaning, making sure that we really declutter. Because when you do have a lot of things in a home, the first thing people might think is there's lack of storage here.
Yes.
And everyone wants storage. Everyone.
Exactly.
So it's super important too.
Yeah, definitely a big aspect of our staging process is a big thing is decluttering. We don't want to distract the buyers too much when they're kind of walking through the home. That's being prepared for the being prepared for the market. But also another big aspect for us is depersonalizing as well. So we really want to let those buyers walk through the home and envision their family, in that home rather than the existing family. So kind of having the sellers take a step back from selling their home and letting those buyers really envision their life there is really important between kind of decluttering and depersonalizing.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I love to do, and I know you do the same thing, is before even having a staging is having that staging consultation, because having that list afterwards to know what stays, what doesn't, what are the things that need to be addressed before we even come in with furniture and different pieces in a home is so important. It will give you enough time to be prepared. It will make sure that you are coming in with the right pieces as well, right? And making sure that we are not in a situation where the furniture is in and all of a sudden we discovered this needs to be taken care of, or that needs to be taken care of or fixed or moved, or whatever the situation is. So those are very, very important things. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. That initial consultation, we're really looking at everything from the lightness of the house, if there needs to be kind of minor repairs, any sort of rearrangement of furniture. And like I said, the decluttering and depersonalizing is a huge aspect as well. That's really important to discuss during our initial consultation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, this has been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and all this amazing information that you have shared with us. All these nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love sharing coffee with you.
Yes, the coffee.
So I hope that our participants had a great time as well, enjoyed the session as well. And should you have any further down questions, feel free to message me. Also, if you do like my page on Facebook, you will be able to see the recording snippets come out every so often. Just because some people, like I said, are not able to log in for their reasons. So I do want to make sure that all this really valuable information does get to the audience. And I will be doing another webinar. This time it's going to be with one of our lenders as well. So you're going to see a lot of these different information sessions coming out that will make sure that not only you're prepared for what's to come in your life transition, but just overall know what the trends are, what to expect, and just get that knowledge, which I think is key. Knowledge is really key nowadays.
Exactly.
So thank you very much. I think we've addressed everything that we needed to address, and feel free to message me. And thank you so much, Jade. I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for participating.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Jade.
Bye now.
Bye.